More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Welcome to Storytellers Campfire for the Charlie Checker Show. I'm your host for today, and we have with us an amazing author. She hails all the way from the UK across the pond. We have with us today, and delighted to have Jane Ryan, author of Missing Dad. And it was launched less than a year ago, and we're excited to find out how the book is doing, how it's received over in the UK, as well as what she's been up to. But before we introduce her, we'll take a short commercial break.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Welcome back to Storytellers Campfire on the Charlie Checker Show. And if you're just joining us, we have with us today the author of Missing Dad, Jane Ryan. Welcome back to our Global Campfire, Jane.
Thank you, Charlie. It's just wonderful to be here.
Well, it's awesome to have you on the show again. Now, for a lot of our listeners, didn't get the chance to meet you in our previous interviews with us, so they'll want to find out the basics about you. So, when and what inspired you to start writing?
Okay, Charlie. Well, before I became a writer, I was a voracious reader. My parents had shelf loads of real classics from Huckleberry Finn to Moby Dick. So when I ran out of children's books, I would read Mum and Dad's books late into the night, and I was huddled under my blankets with a torch. And that's what started me writing when I went to high school, aged 11. I guess I was struggling at the school, and writing was a kind of escapism. So that's really how it all began.
Okay, so that answers my question, what you like to read. What genre did you read as a child, and then preteen, and then young adult?
Oh, it was adventure stories, always. I did like the fantasy sort, like Lewis Carroll, Alice Through the Looking Glass, and so on. But they tended, though, to be classic American adventure stories, which is interesting, really, isn't it? I mean, like Moby Dick, to me, is one of the most amazing adventure stories of all time. And I love Huckleberry Finn. But I also love, adult American authors. I love Raymond Chandler. So, it's amazing how much of my writing's been influenced by American authors.
Mm-hmm. Very eclectic group there. So where did the idea...
They have in common a lot of excitement between them, don't they?
Yes, they do. So where did the idea of a teen spy thriller come from?
Okay, well, I used to work for the advertising industry, and although, it paid quite well, I was driving fast cars, I was working in a very glamorous industry, but, that kind of work doesn't really inspire you to write a book. It might inspire you to write good adverts and get paid okay for it, but it was only when I quit the advertising industry. I went to work in a school with teenagers, and it was a Catholic school where they took in a lot of refugees, and it really shook me up because I realized that I was working with a lot of kids who were refugees from war-torn countries with no hope of seeing their families ever again. Others had lived all their lives in foster homes or were looking after sick parents, and they were missing hundreds of hours of school. And yet these kids just got on with their lives as best they could, and their mates really looked out for them. And this kind of courage and generosity really shook me. I knew that here I had something well worth writing about. The idea of a thriller celebrating the bravery and the kindness that these young people were capable of just came to me in a flash.
Well, what authors? You mentioned some authors. So I know that you've mentioned to me several others that inspired you to write as well.
Okay, well, I think Robert Louis Stevenson, who wrote Treasure Island, from which many classics have also emerged, like Muppet, Treasure Island, and so on. But I think Treasure Island was the very first young adult novel ever because it was about a young lad, Jim Hawkins, who was up against a lot of very dangerous bad men, and he was outwitting them. And I guess that really, to me, that's the underlying theme of Missing Dad, in that, okay, you've got the theme of heroic teenagers, and you've got Joe, who's missing his secret agent dad, he can't remember what he looks like even, and you've got Bex, who's really looking after him and supporting him, his girlfriend. But behind all that, you've got these two youngsters up against some really bad men, and they are outsmarting men with guns. And I think that's really where the Treasure Island theme kind of underlays the theme of Missing Dad.
That's great. So what's the greatest challenges that you faced while you were in the process of writing Missing Dad?
Well, apart from finding the time, because I was still working at the time, writing it was really interesting because just because you're an experienced advertising copywriter doesn't mean you can write a book. And I found that out the hard way. So I knew things were going wrong. I wasn't doing it very well. So I hired the services of a really brilliant editor from the world-renowned Writers' Workshop. She was my mentor. She's called Susan Davis. She's an award-winning author. And she told me very clearly indeed what was going wrong. You get tough love if you go to these people, and you have to be prepared to take criticism. But she sorted me out. And the first book, in the end, turned the whole thing around. And she said after that, you haven't really had a problem. So it is a learning curve. Just because you can write, advertising copy doesn't mean you can write a book. So get yourself a good editor and be prepared to pay for it, to be honest. She was very good indeed.
Nice. So what type of research do you do writing a book? It's got to be a daunting thing to make sure, because I know, you see movies sometimes and you're in a period piece in the 19-something, or 18-something or 17-something, somebody has a watch on, and they point those things out in the bloopers and all that. So when you're writing that, how do you go about getting all the facts right?
Yeah, but that's the fun bit, Charlie. That's the really fun bit, because we were lucky in that my husband and I met at university, and we spent a year as part of our university course in the south of France, and also we went on holiday through Italy to Corsica, just hitchhiking, as students who don't have any money do. So that provided a lot of the initial research for the books, because book 2 does go to France and it does go to Corsica, as readers will find out. So that was an awful lot of the fun of it. But there's also a lot of sailing. There's a massive sailing scene in book 3, and we actually have a small day boat, and we have actually been in a massive storm. We were racing with other day boats off Southend in England. When the sun went in, the wind got up, and the next thing we were sailing faster than we'd ever done before, and there was forked lightning dancing on the mast and a water spout behind us. So most of the dramatic scenes in Missing Dad we've actually been through ourselves.
So what type of schedule do you have writing? I mean, you're working for yourself. Do you have a certain room you write in? You go to the coffee shop. You go outdoors in a peaceful setting. You listen to music while you write?
No, you know what? My youngest son's a composer, and he watches television while he's composing. I have no idea how he does that. I have to have complete silence, but I have a lovely room to write in. It's painted pale blue. It's very quiet. I've got a huge desk area, so I can spread things out. I've got all the books around me, but I get inspiration for the writing from walking, and a lot of it is walking by water, because we're lucky to have the second, probably one of the most enormous rivers in the world quite near us, the River Severn, and it has the second highest tidal rise and fall of any river in the world, which is something like 15 meters. And I get inspiration from walking by this mighty river, and it helps get your thoughts flowing. So I'm very lucky that we live in a very beautiful place, and walking is a big part of it. It really is.
Well, I know during the process there was a young man that a 7-year-old boy, and he told you something quite frankly that I don't think you've ever forgotten. What did he tell you?
That was wonderful, because I did research the book when I was writing it in St. Peter's High School in Gloucester. I recruited the library reading groups, and I said to them, I gave them the first 3 chapters, and I said, I'd really appreciate it if you just tell me what you think. And there was one young chap there that the whole response generally was, we love this, where's the rest of it? But this young man said, and by the way, I have to quote him, and you'll have to understand that in this particular school, as in I think many Catholic schools in England, you're addressed as madam, whether you're married or unmarried. They're very polite. And so the men are all called sir, doesn't matter how old they are, and the ladies are all called madam. And so this young chap, he was only about 11 years old, and he piped up and he said, yeah, well, okay, I think you've got the wrong title, madam, because the one you've got isn't what the story's about, is it? And he really brought me up short, because I realized that, it was nothing at all about it. So that very night I went home and retitled it Missing Dad, because that is actually, of course, what it is all about. Joe is missing his dad, and his dad has gone missing. He's a secret agent. So, that young man really put me straight.
Now, I hear getting published is a nightmare. Okay, if you don't know somebody or you don't have a publishing company, how was that to get it published? How difficult is it?
Horrifying initially when you read about top-selling authors sometimes finding it difficult to get their next book into print. And I just thought, oh, dear God, you've got these wonderful writers that I so respect, and if they're having a struggle, what hope have I got? So there is a publication called the Writers and Artists Yearbook, And so I bought the latest edition, and I opened it up, and on the inside front cover was an ad for Matador and their so-called Serious Self-Publishing. But what made it even better is that there was a ringing endorsement from my friends at the Writers' Workshop saying, these are the people to go to. So this meant that you invest in your own book. And frankly, obviously you need to have some cash, but, people need to have cash to buy a car. I've had my current car for 14 years and I love it to bits, so I wasn't about to buy a new car. So I thought, okay, let's get my book into print instead. And this was really a start of a partnership made in heaven. They were a dream team. They really know what they're doing. They offer endless patient advice. And it was such a good partnership. They actually voted Missing Dad their cover of the month in December. That was the icing on the cake for me.
Awesome. So the first book's out there. And what about the other two?
Okay, well, this is an interesting story, too, because all 4 books are written. There are 4 books in the series, Charlie, right? They're all written and edited, because the one thing I really did not want to do was to just put one book out there and think, oh, my God, what do I do now? And I have heard of really, really authors having a fantastic success with the first book and then almost getting writer's block with the pressure for the second one. So I decided to get all 4 written and edited first. So, book 2 is with the publishers now, and I had the privilege of spending World Book Day in March this year with another school in Gloucester Academy, and it was a wonderful day. The kids were fantastic. I spent sort of 7 lessons with them effectively, going through the book, having fun, storytelling with them, and the rest of it. And Missing Dad was flying off the library shelves at the end of the day, so that was exciting. And then I sponsored a short story writing competition with them, and the upshot of that was, on the day I gave the prizes out, after I got back from my US tour, one young man who'd been so keen on the World Book Day about, I want this book and I want it now, he sat next to me at the prize giving and said, well, where's book 2? So I kind of said on the spot, well, it had better be with you for next World Book Day, hadn't it, So, it's underway, and I'm going back to them to launch it with them next March, which is really exciting.
Wow. So what did you learn while you were writing this book? I mean, with the publishing and everything, your marketing, and how did that all go? How much were you involved in the marketing of the book, by the way?
A lot, and I learned a lot, and that I am really convinced that you do need to be right behind your book. The author needs to play a key role. I mean, okay, I'm lucky I've got a marketing background. I was an advertising copywriter for about 22 years. You do learn a lot about marketing doing that. But the author does need to play a key role in the marketing of his or her book because they should know it better than anybody else does. So, to hook the reader and the book retailer, the press release needs to punch straight to the heart of what the book is all about, in the same way that the title must. And you've heard about the loop I went through with that. So I once read that you should be able to sum up your plot in one tight sentence. If you can't, you've got a problem. So when I could describe Missing Dad as a teenager is looking for his missing secret agent father, I knew I was on the right lines. So this led to the tagline, The New Teens Buy a Thriller. And so there we are. The branding was in place and we were ready to launch. So, you do learn a lot. I was lucky with my background, but the author has to get behind their book and just not leave it to everybody else.
Gotcha. So you still need people behind you,
Oh, yeah, you do. I mean, in Matador, I had a dream team. I'm not ashamed about broadcasting their skills to the world because they are absolutely fantastic. Writers' Workshop endorsed them as well as being one of, I don't know of any other publisher that takes you so seriously as a writer and gets right behind you. You really do get everything from them. They give me full sales representation and distribution service, which is what you can't do on your own. You just can't do it. They have a dedicated sales team, great PR, and so they are worth every penny, basically. Yeah, I wouldn't say that they are violently expensive, and I do think their dedication, especially when I was taking Missing Dad to the US, and they arranged to get a print run done in the US for me. I think their dedication has been fantastic.
Well, they did an amazing job. So now we're going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll let our listeners know, find out where and how Missing Dad was launched, and how our listeners will be anxious to know about the amount of dedication and hard work of Jane's Dream Team.
What if you got rewarded for every good decision? What if your heart had a special way of letting you know it appreciates your healthy choices?
I've got to get my family to eat more vegetables.
Amazing!
And instead of cooking with butter tonight, I think I'll saute our veggies with heart-healthy oil.
You're a genius! So really, would your food choices pay off in heart health? Did you know that when you replace bad fats with healthier fats, like those in canola or other vegetable oils, it can lower bad cholesterol levels, and that's good for your heart. Here's a winning idea. Take up the challenge for good health, because the you of the future will say,
Fantastic!
Learn more at heart.org/facethefats. Canola Info proudly supports the American Heart Association's Face the Fats campaign.
Welcome back to Storytellers Campfire on the Charlie Checker Show. And if you're just joining us, we are delighted to have with us today Jane Ryan, author of the fantastic Missing Dad that was launched in the UK less than a year ago. So what we want to know as your listeners, why did you pick St. Peter's High School? And what were the young people's reaction when you did?
Well, St. Peter's, it was a kind of a no-brainer in a way, because that's the school that inspired the whole story. That these brave teenagers who, got through some very difficult times, and their friends who looked out for them. So they really were at the heart of Missing Dad, so it had to be there. But there were added advantages in that St. Peter's has a fantastic jazz band where my own son Danny played for a while. So I wanted the jazz band to be at the launch to play Bond themes to accentuate the spy side of things. I have a very good friend, a young man called Reese Moll, who does the most amazing stage lighting. So he actually came in and did the lighting and color coordinated that. But the best thing was that the library, Catherine Watkins, the librarian, got right behind Missing Dad from the very beginning. And that was really wonderful. So as soon as the banner went up outside the school, the new teen spy thriller, she contacted me, hey, Jane, what's all this? And she's been an absolute star member of the Dream Team ever since, spreading the news to other secondary schools and also primary schools. She's such a powerful advocate for Missing Dad as an easy, accessible read. So I donated some copies of Missing Dad to the school, and so it had to be the school for the launch. And then after that, that's when I brought the whole family in.
So what preparations were done in anticipation of the launch? Advertising and all that.
Right. Well, there was this huge banner that was up outside the school gates for 10 weeks before. And then there were basically, I invited local papers and the rest of it. They were very responsive. But also the jazz band was a key part of it, because I've always been very good friends with Catherine Perfect, who's the head of the music at St. Peter's and is doing a fantastic job. And Danny, my youngest son, who's a composer, he owes a lot to his time with her as well. She's been a wonderful mentor for him. So the St. Peter's Jazz Band was a hugely important part of it. There's some great photos of them on my website, and they just did a fantastic job. They've got some great singers, some great musicians, and not just the students, the staff as well, a part of it. So they were a massive part of the launch, playing James Bond themes as we launched Missing Dad. But then the family side of things was great too, because I'm blessed with a gorgeous daughter-in-law married to my middle son, and Danny's got a gorgeous girlfriend who baked Missing Dad themed cupcakes, and pictures of those are on my website as well.
Cool. So what is all this Silverstone experience? What is that all about?
Okay, right, yeah, that's accessible from my website. This is, we like, when boys, well, they're not teenagers now, they're older than that, but when boys get to a certain age, you don't buy them things, you buy them experiences for Christmas presents and birthday presents. So it's a bit of a tradition in the Ryan family that we started by giving them sort of off-road driving. Then we got them flying lessons down at Bristol Airport, about 30 miles south from here. And then I thought, there's these, they can go around Silverstone in a Formula 4. So that's what they did last time. And so that's what's happening in that footage that's available of Danny. He was determined to beat all his brothers, his two brothers. And he hit 90 miles an hour in his Formula 4 car. He was determined to do that. So that's what that footage is that you can access from my website. But this time round, in a couple of weeks' time, they're doing Silverstone Rally. So it's going to be more exciting. They should come out of that with some good skills as well. So that's the way it goes with the...
Sounds like my kind of fun. I have the need for speed from time, and I think we have a zip line here, but we don't have any race cars. I mean, they got,
Charlie, you got to come over here and do Silverstone rallying.
I would love it. It would be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So, after you, before you launched, you had to think about what about the cover would look like and the color scheme, the marketing. Who and why were those decisions made? Who made all that? Did those decisions?
That was extremely interesting. And that's where having really good people behind you really pays off, because I had looked in the bookshops at the young adult sections, right? Now, I don't know what it's like in the States, but certainly in Waterstones and places like that in the UK, on most young adult books, there's a picture of a young face, a teenager, right? Now, I briefed in to Matador. I said, well, I guess it's going to be Joe's face then. But I think they obviously read the book and they picked up something else. They picked up one of the central characters, who's a very charismatic Frenchman called, in the first book, Monsieur. And he's quite an ambiguous character. We really don't know in the first book, whether he's on the dark side or the side of the light. And they picked up on that. And what they put on the front cover of Missing Dad, to me, looks far more like what Monsieur could be like. And that absolutely blew me away, because I thought, well, that was pretty daring. And I spoke to them. I said, wouldn't it normally be like a young face? They said, well, not necessarily. This is a spy thriller. They said, on spy thriller covers, it's not necessarily a young face. It's the genre that you're writing in. And they were so right, because it's kind of gripped an audience that goes across generations, not just youngsters.
So not just youngsters. Yeah, because with an adult's face, it kind of looks like a James Bond kind of guy, the CIA, the secret guy, the secret agent type person. Yeah.
You've got it exactly. He looks quite mysterious, doesn't he? And also, if you're looking at the cover and you put your hand over the right-hand side of his face, then it suddenly looks pretty sinister. You look at the other side, and it's just a bit more, on the side of the light. But I think they created something completely riveting, and it was really interesting. When I was touring, in the US, and I was in Pennsylvania at the book fair, I had a lot of people coming out, and there was a 6-foot-high poster of the Missing Dad cover, and a lot of guys were coming up and saying, oh, no, I don't read much, but I'll wait for the film to come out.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
I know, really wouldn't it be? Yeah.
Yeah,
but they thought that picture appealed, it gripped them too, and I thought that was really interesting.
Well, since the book is a spy thriller, the launch would have had to have been very dramatic, intro. So how did that come about? The choreography of all that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I wanted to get some real adrenaline stuff going, so I hired a couple of simulated racers, race car simulators, and so they were in place as well. So there was my friend Reese Moore doing amazing lighting, which was totally on brand. It was the right colors. It was mauve and blue and white. And then I had these race car simulators. There were a couple of those in there, which even quite small people could have a go on, which was just brilliant because it was completely supervised. So we had the race car simulators. We had the band playing real dramatic stuff and lit brilliantly. So it was an awesome thing. And then we had the cupcakes and soft drinks. So yeah, I was well pleased because I suppose you can call me a bit obsessive compulsive about being on brand and stuff, but I do think it works if you can get all the colors coordinated and the whole theme pulled together. So it was great. Everyone agreed it was a lot of fun.
Well, it sounds so exciting. What an event. So, okay, it's been less than a year since Missing Dad was launched. So the readers and our listeners want to know, how is it doing in the UK? How are they responding?
Well, you know what? It took me by surprise because I had no idea that school libraries were going to so adopt Missing Dad. It started at St. Peter's, but because I said to Catherine Watkins, librarian, okay, I want to give some books to St. Peter's because this is where it all began. How many would you like? And she said, well, can I have 300, please? I said, yeah, sure you can. And so Missing Dad kind of invaded St. Peter's High School, and they've been using that with their reluctant readers groups is the best name for it. They use the word remedial or interventionist, but they use it with reluctant readers, yeah? So that's where it began. And then I got invited largely because Catherine spread the word by Gloucester Academy, which was another school in Gloucester, to spend World Book Day with them and bring Missing Dad in there. And that kind of created a bit of a storm of interest as well. And so that's when they started asking about, where's book 2? And then I heard from another school, a grammar school in Stroud, which is near Gloucester, called Marling School. And they've been using that, the librarian says that, very successfully again, for reluctant readers. So I couldn't wish for a better start in life for my book series. It's so thrilling to think that people are adopting it because it encourages young people to read. What more could you want?
Yes, that's our motto, too, as well. Wow, too much excitement for me. Whew. Let's take a short commercial break and get my wind back.
Do you see that doggy in the shelter?
Hi, I'm Buddy, the adorable puppy you adopted from the Humane Society.
Meow. I'm Whiskers, a fluffy kitty, just waiting for someone to love me.
When you adopt a pet, we hope your new furry friend will become a cherished member of your family. And as Buddy and Whiskers will tell you, the key to success is following the rules to love by.
Woof, that's right. Please give me food, water, and exercise every day. To be healthy, I need the same kind of things you need.
Talk to me. I like hearing your voice.
You're my best friend. Please don't stay mad at me or lock me up as punishment. Remember, I'm probably going to live 10 to 15 years, so take care of me when I get old.
One day you'll need someone to take care of you, too.
A message from the Montgomery County Humane Society. Visit www.mchumane.org for the complete rules to love by.
Be your best friend for life.
Back to Charlie Checker Show on the Storyteller's Campfire. We're here today with the amazing Jane Ryan, author of Missing Dad. So, Jane, Missing Dad has had such fantastic success in the UK. So what is next for you and the Missing Dad book series?
Well, I want to get book 2 out there. I have an invitation now from Gloucester Academy to be with them on World Book Day next year. What I'd like to do, I think we're in good time to do it, is get some advanced copies printed off ahead of the official publication date and get them out there to Gloucester Academy, also to St. Peter's, and also to Marling School, any other schools that are interested, and maybe have events there as well to get Book 2 kicked off, because there's still 2 more to come after that. They're all written and good to go.
Awesome. So what about the international radio tour? How's that going for you?
Well, that's going really excitingly, because it's a fantastic opportunity that would not have been available to me here in the UK to communicate worldwide with readers. And also, that was backed up by the in-person tour that I did, where, I collected so many email addresses from people who are interested in the rest of the series. So I'm now busy getting a mailing list up together to communicate with them and say, hi, Book 2's on the way. Let me know if you're interested. So the whole thing, talking to America, has been absolutely awesome, frankly, Charlie. It really has.
Well, our listeners and I would be honored if you'd read a selection for Missing Dad. Would that be something you'd be able to have time for today?
I would love to do that.
Awesome.
You told me you'd like something, a bit of an exciting bit, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Give me the goosebumps,
well, most
girl.
of it is a bit like that. I'll just put it briefly into context. This is really the final climax of the action when Joe and Bex, his girlfriend, they've kind of found out quite a bit about Joe's missing dad, but now in order to escape from this burning building, they have to do some pretty terrifying things. So we are coming in where they're trying to get out of this building. There is smoke coming under the door. The whole building, the tower block above them, is roaring with flames and exploding. And yet they find this door that could lead them into a cave tunnel. So if that's okay, I'll start from there. Okay, Charlie?
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead. We're listening.
Okay, here we go. Another wall lamp flickers and dies. While I can still see, I look around quickly, go through the drawers of the desk, stumble into the kitchen and rip open cupboards, more drawers. There it is. I push the switch. A bright beam lights my way back to the shadow that's Bex. We've got to go, Bex. She does a final click, yanks the memory stick out of the computer and hands it to me. I stuff it into my back pocket. The torch blazes through a fog of smoke as we grope our way towards the wooden door. I talk to the left. It doesn't want to know. Bex tries. Ouvrez, you pig. Don't annoy it. It's annoying me. The fire must have messed it up. But I have to try and get out the way Monsieur did. Like where? That door at the back of the cave. As we run through the choking air back into Monsieur's apartment, all the lights go out. The screaming of melting, twisting metal is ear-piercingly loud. More walls and girders crash down above us. Smoke swirls all around, trying to fill our lungs. We're both coughing now. Get down, below the smoke. We drop onto hands and knees and find some air. The torch picks out the arched shape of the door at the back of the cave, and I reach up for the iron latch. We crawl through and push the door shut behind us. The roaring is further away now, and we can breathe. We clamber to our feet. Ouch! The roof's really low. Bex can stand, but I'm stooping. We watch the beam of the torch as I move it across the rock walls. Suddenly, it's trying to shine into a blackness ahead of us. It looks like a tunnel. I keep on moving the torch around the walls. It finds another blackness, 6 or 7 yards to the left of the first one. Pick a tunnel, Bex. Your turn. Her voice doesn't sound as though we're in a cave. No echoes. Maybe it's because the roof is so low here. Monsieur used to talk about the slaves, how they marched them underground up to Black Boy Hill to be sold. Look, great history lesson, Joe, but we're doing survival GCSE now. No, listen. We have to take the tunnel that goes upwards. From the docks to Black Boy Hill, it's a steady climb on the road. The slave trail must go upwards too. That's miles. And upwards to what? Can we get out up there? I don't know. But we have to take the one that goes up. I reckon it's the one on the right. Well, suppose Monsieur knew a way that comes out near the docks. They had to bring the slaves in secretly, didn't they? I've just got this feeling that the shortest get-out could be the tunnel on the left. Thought it was my turn. The torch lights the rock walls as we grope our way into Beck's tunnel. It's so narrow that I have to go in front, scrambling over stones and boulders. The roaring above is distant now. There's just darkness and the beam of the torch ahead of us as we stumble along. Then the path goes down steeply. I trip and drop the torch. Bex grabs it. A huge pile of fallen boulders is completely blocking our way. Oh, pooh! Now we hear the rumbling getting louder. The tunnel's shaking. Small rocks are starting to fall, followed by larger ones in front and behind. Stones bounce off our heads as we race back towards the tunnel entrance. I can hear a creaking up ahead that I don't understand, like something trying to tear itself away. Beck, stop! Why? I grab her arm and drag her backwards as a huge shape crashes down just in front of us. Give me the torch. More stones and rubble rain down as I shine the beam on the monster in our path. I think we can just about get around it. Go on. She pushes herself between the giant boulder and the tunnel wall. Damn, I've ripped my best top. I follow her into the gap, feeling my chest being squeezed so tight I can hardly breathe. The tunnel floor shakes with another massive crash behind me, and dust pours onto my head and down my neck. Then I can't go any further. I'm through, Joe. Come on. Can't. Give me a hand. Her hand reaches into the torchlight and grabs my wrist. You're pulling my arm off. The tunnel wall scrapes my face as I almost pop out on the other side of the boulder, and Bex topples over backwards. I drag her up, and we scramble wildly from the entrance, with more rocks thundering at our heels. And then we're out, gasping for breath. The crash of falling rocks goes on for at least another 20 seconds. The air is full of choking dust. Bex shines the torch on a wall of boulders where her tunnel used to be. We can hear the roaring above us again, and more gunshots as blue glass rockets into the sky. Smoke is mixing with the dust as I croak. My tunnel now. Brushes cave dust out of her hair. The coloured beads fly off into the dark. Only if it's got a power shower somewhere on the way. My tunnel isn't quite as low as Beck's, but I have to stoop to walk. The ground is still so rough with stones that we keep stumbling. The air feels old, like no one's been in here for hundreds of years. Not much oxygen, but at least we can breathe again. The smoke hasn't got this far yet. She whispers, it's quite warm. I thought it would be all cold and damp. Not as warm as it is in those posh offices now. As we scramble on, the roaring turns into a silence. There's just the sound of our feet, feeling their way over the rocky path. The clatter of a stone as one of us trips up. It's then that I start to hear them. Tiny voices echoing somewhere in the tunnel. I can't work out if it's in front or behind us. Or is it in my head? Joe. Stop dead. Bex bumps into me. You all right? I can hear... What? Can't you hear that? Who can you hear? Little kids' voices. They're like calling my name. I can't hear anything, Joe. She grabs my hand. There's places you're doing your head in. Mine too. We stumble on through the blackness with just the beam of the torch ahead. But I can still hear. Joe. Then I notice that my legs are working harder than they were just a few minutes ago. I turn to Beck's shadow behind me. The ground's starting to go upwards. Can you feel it? Not sure. Could be just our legs getting tired. We trudge on, and I'm sure the ground's still going gradually upwards. It seems like hours and endless miles in the dark. Still, these far-off little cave voices call me. Joe. I trip again and fall flat on my face this time. Bex shines the torch down towards me, and I can hear her quick breathing. The light picks out a tiny human skull and tiny bones. Curled up beneath a ledge. My face feels the cool stones of the slave tunnel as I just lie there and look at what's left of this little kid who died so long ago in here. Bex kneels beside me. In the torchlight, her fingers reach out and gently touch what was once a small hand. Her voice is quiet, trembling with anger. They took children. As I clamber slowly to my feet, Monsieur's voice is in my head now. This place has a shameful past. We've been crouching, falling and staggering forever in this tunnel when the torch picks out something that brings us to an abrupt halt. It looks like an immense, oily surface ahead, going on so far we can't see where it ends. We go a few more steps, and now I can stand upright. I take the torch from Bex and shine it upwards. It gleams on a high roof, hung with hundreds of pale stalactites, some of them maybe 60 feet long, gleaming over this still and silent underground lake. Silly me, I forgot to bring the boat. We'll have to lose the trainers, that's a pain. We kick off our shoes. Give me the memory stick, I've got more layers on than you. She jams it into her top. I stuff the torch into my back pocket. No idea if it's waterproof. Then I wade in for a few feet, and suddenly there's nothing beneath me. I call to her through the darkness. I think it's very deep, but it's quite warm. There's a splash as she follows me. Ew, it smells mouldy. I have the feeling that we could be floating above an underground cavern that's as tall as a church. But Bex can handle herself in the water at least as well as I can. Our parents used to take it in turns to do the swim club run, although it must be a couple of years now since either of us has done any serious stuff. We need to have a plan so we don't get separated. She spits out a mouthful of water. This is so disgusting. Listen up, Bex. We do front crawl. Arsehole ahead. You grab my foot every 4 strokes so I know you're there. You'll kick me in the teeth. Your feet are like propellers when you're doing front crawl. All right, you swim ahead and kick me in the teeth instead. Deal. But remember how to swim in a straight line, Bex. Otherwise, I can feel her pitying look as she powers away from me into the dark. I follow, locking on to the wake of her kicking feet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Grab, telling her I'm there behind her. We've been going for maybe 20 minutes when there's a colossal splash almost next to us. Something huge plummets past us into the depths. Bex stops. Don't tell me, Big Head's doing ballistic missiles now. I think it was one of those stalactites. Must have been 1 in a million chance for it to fall so close. Or else it's the sounds we're making, you know, the way avalanches start. She whispers, oh. I whisper back, let's try not to kick above the water. We used to swim up to 3,000 meters in one go on a training night, not with all our clothes on like lead weights. I've no idea how long we've been going now. Feels like way more than the training run. It's a slower 1, 2, 3, 4 when Beck's feet stop kicking and I come up alongside her. I can hear her hands splashing as she feels round, panting to get her breath back. It's solid rock. Just go straight up. And straight down. I'm going to take a look. I take a deep breath and dive. The underwater rock face feels slimy beneath my searching hands. It just goes on and on until my lungs are about to explode. My head bursts back up through the surface. Nothing. I go. Beck's thrashing feet propel her beneath the water. And now I feel like she must have done, waiting for me to come back up. After an age, she breaks surface, taking great gasps of breath. There's a hole about 10 feet below, maybe 4 feet diameter. We both tread water in the dark, thinking the same thing. Neither of us likes underwater that much, and we have no way of knowing how much underwater we've got to do. I breathe out slowly through my teeth. I can see why they close these caves off. They're not exactly a tourist attraction. Unless you really don't like tourists. We take a few minutes to fill our lungs with air. Ready? Steady, go. She dives. I'm close behind. I can feel her going straight down, close to the rock wall, then pushing herself into the hole. I grasp the rock at the entrance and shove my way after her, groping with hands and feet and all my brain, swimming blindly forwards like I'm on fire, hitting my head on ledges I can't see, hating everything I find that isn't the surface. I can feel Beck's kicking feet just ahead. Then I bash my head on another ledge and lose track of her completely. My head's pounding and my lungs are screaming for air now, and I think we definitely could drown in here. I read The Perfect Storm once. 2 ways of drowning. 1, you lock up your windpipe so tight to keep the water out, you get no more oxygen. 2, you breathe in water, so you get no more oxygen. I can't quite make up my mind when I crash into a ledge so hard it makes my head spin and rocket up through the surface. Taking huge breaths of cave air, I struggle to my feet, feeling sharp stones digging into them. I wade out of the water, pulling the torch out of my pocket. Bex? The beam cuts through the blackness. Amazing. It's still working. It flashes around on a small pebbly beach where there's no one but me. Bex? I turn the torch back towards the dark water. Nothing. Just small waves lapping at the stones. Then the beam picks out something floating near the shore. Bex! I run back in, water showering up either side of me. I'm definitely hearing things now. Someone's humming this Christmas carol. Silent night. She's lying on her back in the water, looking like she's woken up in heaven, humming to herself. She says in a dreamy voice, "It's amazing, isn't it, this breathing thing?" I splash up to her. She stands up, shaking strands of soaking hair off her face. God, Bex, I thought, so did I. Where were you? I had to do a single-handed fight with this giant squid. Where were you? She shoves a wave at me with both hands, and I splash her back. No worries about noise now. The stalactite bombs are a long way behind us. We wade out of the lake and onto the stony shore. The torch shines on layers of rock and on a wooden door with a trail leading up to it, made by many weary, bare feet, some of them so small. Bex gazes down at the footprints. She says softly, "How come they're still here after all this time?" No wind or tides to take them away. I walk round those footprints without touching them. I don't want my feet to smudge out even a part of their awful story. The door feels like concrete as I give it a shove. It must be nailed across from the other side. Can you hear anything? Like cars? Buses? Nothing. Maybe there's just more tunnel. Give me the torch. Bex goes looking round and comes back with a rock. She smashes it into the door time after time. It doesn't budge. Breathing hard, she hands the rock to me. I throw myself in the rock at the door like it's bigger and I want to see him in small pieces. Bash, bash! Splinters of wood fly into my face. But there's just more wood beyond. It's no good. I don't suppose it speaks French. Scream and shout, Bex. We both yell at max volume, "Help! Help! Someone!" Well, no one hears. I sit down with a bump, feeling like I did when the cops caught me driving underage, trying to find my dad. Bex sits down beside me. I'm so tired. Can't stop my eyes closing. Don't. I get up, every bone in my body creaking, sodden jeans clinging to my legs, and stumble over to the rock wall, shining the torch, up, down, anywhere. Then, Bex, over here. No answer. I go back to her. She's sound asleep, curled up on the pebbles. I shake her shoulders. Bex, you've got to wake up. What? Go away. Think I found something. Come on. I drag her to her feet. As we approach, something looks like a small pool of shadow in the rock face. There's just a hole. No, look, it's more than a hole. It's going into the rocks. Could be only a few yards. Yes, or it could be our get-out, Bex. What have we got to lose? I squeeze myself inside, head and shoulders, then the rest of me, and shine the torch ahead. It's going upwards. I'm here. Don't kick my face. We're like worms, wriggling slowly forwards inside the hole. It feels horrible, because we could get jammed in it and not be able to go on or go back. I didn't mind the tunnel so much, because at least we could move around. But here, in this narrow chimney, I can hear my heart banging in my ears. The torch beam waves around in total blackness. Harsh rock scrapes the skin off my hands as I drag myself upwards. You still there, Bex? You could just kick less stuff in my eyes. Do you think some of those poor slaves tried to escape this way? If I'd been them, I'd have tried it. The rock is crushing my ribs now, like the boulder was. I'm starting to panic in this choking darkness. My chest is closing in on me. My bare feet scrabble at the rocks as I try to keep shining the torch. You okay, Bex? Never heard her sound so tired. I'm thinking chocolate. Yeah, think chocolate, Joe. I'm not sure if I can squeeze through this next bit. It's so tight, I'm terrified of getting stuck. Not sure if I could go backwards either. Think chocolate. I move another 6 inches upwards. You okay, Joe? Chocolate's good. My arms and legs are so heavy. It's all I can do to keep shoving myself through this gullet that's trying to squeeze me to death. Time's getting steeper now and the rocks are slippery. At least that makes it a bit easier to force my way through them. Suddenly, it's really steep. My foot slips. Hell! I reach out my hand to clutch at something, anything, and the torch goes rattling away from me, flashing its light. Get it, Bex! Damn. Everything is black. Can you feel around for it? It could be wedged somewhere. I can't see any light. It's gone, Joe. We picked a great time to reduce our carbon footprint, she says thoughtfully. I suppose we could die in here. Nah, there's got to be a better place. Come on. I feel around with my hands to try and find a rock to grab. Her voice is very small below me. Do you really think we'll get out, Joe? I don't know. But what's the point in not trying when we might just make it? I mean, we might find out after we're dead that we could have made it after all. Her voice sounds brighter. Must be amazing, or really annoying, what hindsight you have when you're dead. Or is it foresight? We don't talk after that. We haven't got the energy. It's like the weight of the entire earth is pressing down on us, wanting us to stop right there. But we don't stop. Is that okay, guys?
Oh, my goodness. Now I have goosebumps. So scary and thrilling at the same time. My goodness. I was hoping they got through. Oh, my goodness.
Sorry?
I was hoping they would go ahead and make it. I bet we'll have to finish the book.
Well, you've read the book, Charlie. We better get other people to read the book.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, Jane. I know our listeners loved hearing you read that selection. But unfortunately, we are almost out of time for today. Jane, tell us where we can find you.
Okay. Well, you can find my website, www.jryanauthor, all one word, .co.uk. And I'm always happy to get emails on j_RyanAuthor@hotmail.com. You can follow me on Facebook on Missing Dad. I'm on Twitter on jryanauthor. And I'm also my books are going with money off on Troubadour, www.troubadour.co.uk. There's £3 off the retail price, and I'm on Amazon and available in in pretty well all UK bookshops. So that's where you can find me. And I would love to hear from listeners, especially anybody who would like to be up for getting the second series of Missing Dad.
Awesome, Jane. Well, we're looking really forward to the next installment of Missing Dad, and we on Storytellers Campfires would let all our listeners know when that will be. We also want to thank our listeners and sponsors for being with us here today, especially you, Jane, because without them, this program would not be possible. So,
it's been a very great pleasure, Charlie. Lovely to talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, remember, everyone, to dance like no one's watching and sing like no one's listening.